Okay, so I've had quite a few people asking me with regards to my first assault recordings, how I make the colours so pretty, and the answer is simple. Use ReShade. So, as you can see, you want to navigate to here, reshade.me, but it's the first thing that will come up in Google. Download. You'll want to grab yeah, it's really, it's a guide for newcomers is unnecessary. Just grab that. Right. Now you will reuse the setup file every single time you want to apply reshade to a game, so you might want to move it from your downloads folder to wherever you keep your games, unless that oddly is your downloads folder, but each to their own. For the sake of demonstration, I'm just gonna open it here because obviously I have mine set up, and I'm gonna go through the motions. I'll pick around actually maybe I'll just do first assault and not go the full way through. Okay, so alright, so that's it downloaded. Okay, so after multiple attempts with FF Split, it kept crashing on me, so I've switched to OBS. If that's fucked with the sound or whatever, I'm sorry, but I don't have time to dick around with that right now. Let's pick up where we left off. So we've downloaded ReShade. Here you see I have it on my desktop, just for the sake of simplicity. So double click that, yeah, run it. Okay, and you're presented with this. So we can probably select game, click that. Right, as you can see, I'm already navigated to the first sort of folder. So you want to find your game.exe, open, and it's going to ask you to select your rendering API. It's a DX9 game, so you'll need to select that for it to work. The others will not. So it's detected that I've already got an installation in there. So yeah, sure, let's overwrite it. It'll then prompt you to download the shader effects from GitHub, which it does automatically. So yeah, you just click yes. It does that reasonably speedily, and then you get these. Now, obviously, you can get other shaders from elsewhere, anything that's supported by the format, but this is where you get a sort of standard, which is a lot, and you certainly don't need it all. So let's start by unchecking all, and I'll run through what I use on first assault. I'm not going to do a full tutorial on what all the different shaders do in ReShade, but the ones that you'll probably want are adaptive sharpen, colorfulness, fine sharp. You may or may not need it. It's usually better to get as many of the sharpening shaders in as possible, just so that you can, once you've applied your anti-aliasing, you can then tweak. You have the option to tweak all of them to sort of make sure that it's not too muddy. So yeah, it has an FXAA implementation, but we're not going to go for that because FXAA is shit. So go for high pass sharpen as well, Luma sharpen as well. Now this is like a shader-based implementation of ambient occlusion. It ends up with a lot of flickering and has quite a performance impact, so it's not worth it. This is what you want for sure. SMAA, that is. This is kind of, well, seems to be thought of as the best sort of post-process anti-aliasing option around, and certainly if a game doesn't have its own anti-aliasing option, well, non-filter based, such as First Assault, which only has their FXAA, which is dirt, as all FXAA is. Any game that doesn't have proper anti-aliasing, I'll always apply SMAA. It does a pretty good job, and it takes very, very little performance, and it doesn't screw with textures not as nearly as much as FXAA. So out of what's left, you'll want vibrance as well. So that's it, done. I'm going to try and continue this video next in game. You'll see kind of what happens. So it should now just, when you launch the game, you should see a bar at the top saying that it's loading the shaders and whatnot. And yeah, so alright, I'll catch you on the flip side. Okay, cool. So you can see ReShade up there at the top loading, and that just loads the shaders specifically that you selected previously on the configuration window. If you missed it, it says hit Shift F2 to bring the in-game overlay, and that works very well actually. Anyway, so we won't probably need to move past this first screen here, because we can have a look at Motko's model, and I'll briefly run through how I have mine set up. I mean, personally, looking at it right now, obviously you can see there is a little bit of aliasing, but keep in mind, A, I don't have the in-game FXAA turned on, and B, it's not that bad, you know. I think it looks pretty sharp, the textures are crisp, and the colours certainly more vibrant. So let's run through what I did to get me there. Shift F2 brings up this. Now, because I've configured this all before, this is actually in what's known as a performance mode. Yours will start off in configuration mode, and there will be a tutorial. As you see here, it says restart tutorial. What that will do is it will ask you to create a name for the preset. You just click, there's a little plus, basically this file. You just click the plus, call it whatever you want, and it'll save it locally in the folder. It's just the specific settings for the shaders. I'm going to switch over to a configuration mode. As you can see there, very briefly, it disabled all the filters. One thing that you will want to do, okay, I set this the effects toggle key to scroll lock, just because traditionally that's what Sweet Effects and earlier instances of ReShade had as default. Now, well, certainly when I installed this version, it was empty, but it's useful to have that just so you can flick between the two. And I think that the screenshot key does default to print screen, but if not, set it to that, and do all of your screenshotting through the ReShade shortcut, because it will catch it at the end of the render pipeline, and therefore with all of the graphical enhancements, as opposed to fraps or something like that that will actually just get the pre-filtered image. Alright, so now that I've put it in config mode, you see it's brought up this second panel down here. You can resize this actually. and this is the settings for each of the things above. So I told you to grab adaptive sharpen, which apparently I am not using, colourfulness, which I am, emphasize I didn't tell you to grab for good reason. I have not found it useful. Fine sharp, again, as I say, it's just always better to have more sharpening options available so that you can get the right balance, but I'm not using it at the moment. And high pass sharpen, which I am using. Lumen sharpen I am using. I tried out this MXAO ambient occlusion implementation, and well, I mean, I can just show some gameplay footage with it, but it's you know, it works, but it flickers, it's inconsistent, so I turned it off. SMAA and vibrance. So very briefly, what do each of these do? Obviously, colourfulness is going to enhance your colours, as does vibrance. That's those are the two that kind of get the colours popping. So the best thing that I can do to demonstrate is to disable and enable, and you can see the difference. So you see with just vibrance, it's better, but it doesn't have that delicious Technicolor goodness. And then see if I turn off vibrance, it becomes a little duller as well. So the combination of the two gives sort of a nice depth to the colours, and you don't want to have it oversaturated, obviously, but I feel like the way I have it set up now kind of makes it look like how it should. It's kind of in line with what it would be maybe in the anime or something like that. I have altered the settings for some of these, so it's worth running through. Obviously, adaptive sharpen is not enabled, so it's pointless looking at that. I don't know what the default for colourfulness is, but I have set this to 0.6. Seemed to work for me. Emphasize, let's forget about. Fine sharp, let's forget about. High pass sharpen, this may well be on default settings. If it's not, have a look at what I have here. But obviously also feel free to fuck around and do what you want. Luma sharpen, again, so you can do stuff like this on some of them, right? So you can see just what the effect of that filter is doing. So I think I did tweak these values a fair amount. The main goal with the sharpening is to offset the corner rounding of SMAA, because you really want that turned up as strong as possible. And then with a bit of sharpening, you can kind of reclaim it without introducing too much more, reintroducing too much of the aliasing. The vibe, right, so yeah, so SMAA has specific settings. Let's scroll to them. So, now, you've got three different options here. In general, luminance seems to work the best. You can see a difference as you flick through them. Yeah, you've got it may not show up on the video though, but in my experience, this this value will be at 0.1, I think, by default. Peer generally suggested to do about 0.08 if you want a bit more of an effect. I put it down to 0.06. I think by default this is 98, which is the maximum. and this is 16, which is the maximum, but this will be at 0. And I like to have it turned all the way up. Now you can see one of the end results of that is that on the text of the user interface, for example, you can see it slightly. The SMAA is at work, and it does muddy it. But if I were to take all the sharpening off, it would be a lot worse. And that's one of the things that the sharpening corrects, is stuff like that. So if we were to take it off, you can see, like, by the hair here, there's been obvious aliasing. You're actually losing parts of the geometry as she turns off her hair. It's one of the issues with aliasing. But with the SMAA, it fills it in nicely without being too over the top. I'm going to switch this back over to performance mode. And I'll quickly just flick between with and without the settings, so you can just really get a sense of what the difference is. So without, it almost looks like it's in black and white to me now. Obviously it's just because my eyes have adjusted to the extra colour, but apparently this is how everyone else has been playing the game, which is a travesty, if you ask me. And then this, I mean, look at the colour palette is like extremely limited, and with these filters, you know, you can see, like, you know, everything is kind of purplish. It's very indistinct, and as soon as I turn it on, you've got different colours. You know, the red inside the collar here shows up all of a sudden. You know, the hair is purple, the skin is skin toned, not another shade of violet. We can have a look quickly at, let's say, some of the weapon models. Okay, see you. As you can see, there really is very little aliasing. I mean, there's some, obviously, but considering the performance with and without, let's see. Okay, so my FPS counter is up there. I'll go into the shooting range and let's see if we can see what the performance here is on my rig, which is obviously reasonably meaty, but so we're looking at like 150, 147, right? Right, if I turn it off, okay, it's about this. I mean, we're talking maybe 5 FPS max, so definitely worth it, in my opinion. Anyway, I think that's about all I have to say about this for now. Otherwise this is going to get long and boring. Information you need. I have had plans for a while to do some more sort of tutorial vids. I would like, as you can see, I'm lucky enough to own quite a lot of the arsenal here, so I was going to go through some loadouts and sort of my reasoning behind that and so on and so forth. So expect some more content in the future. If you're watching this on YouTube, which I imagine you will be, feel free to subscribe. I've been releasing a little more regularly recently, so anyway, that's about it. Hope that was useful, and I'll see you on the battlefield.